Ryan here, Set the Pace Triathlon, talking Ironman Boulder 70.3. And noticed there was a post in the group, and I kind of wanted to answer the questions, put my 2 cents out there. So, Manny Mendez, he put some questions out there. There's some post about ask a pro coach some questions. Some guy posted like every Ironman group or something like that. But I want to get my 2 cents worth in. I've done the half 3 times. I've done the full once. Back in 2015 was in August, and actually it wasn't that hot. It was, I think, in the 80s, but unlike the one year, it was in June and 100 degrees. But anyway, I have been out there. It's been 85 degrees for some of the halves out in August. So I've been out there when it's hot. I've been out there when it was flipped. 2014, I believe or was it 2011? Anyway, I'd have to look at all my stats. But anyway, I've been out there 3 times. Been there when it's in June, when it's in August, June for the full, and the half I've been in June and August, so I've experienced everything that Boulder has to offer out there. Love the race. Would love to go back out and do it, but not doing it this year. But Manny asked, doesn't have to be answered by pro, but I have some concerns. I apologize. And nothing is dumb about this. If you've never done the 70.3, and like you said, this is my first half, no question is dumb. Ask the questions, get them answered. If not by me, by somebody. It's kind of the give and take with the Facebook groups. You ask one question and you get the same answer 50 different ways. You can always pick up the one you like and then go with that, I guess. He says, I'm racing in tri-bike that has tubulars. I've never ran tubulars and concerned with flats. Personally, I ran tubulars for a year and never had flat with them. That being said, I carried a flat repair kit that was inserted into the inner tube in the nozzle, and it filled the tube with a fluid to hopefully fix it. It's kind of like fix a flat. Never had to use it. Never tried it. It was going to be a total experiment if it happened on race day. Because otherwise you're left with, and most tubulars are glued to the wheels. So if you've got a flat, it's either, hopefully there's a bike tech around somewhere that's readily available and has either the front wheel or the back wheel that you need. And hopefully, you don't have disc wheels or, 10 speed, 11 speed, or some other issue like that. But worst comes to worst, I had a little pocket knife to be able to kind of start cutting the glue part and rip the wheel off, or the tire off. And then I had a fresh, so put that one on there and try to limp it to an aid station or something like that and get help. It was kind of my last resort. I carried an extra tubular on the bike taped to the frame. So that being said, I think flats with tubulars are a little less of a problem. However, I got nervous enough. I did it for 1 year, and it was too nerve-wracking for me to just kind of put all my eggs in the tubular basket. I knew clinchers. I know how to change them. I had valve extenders. I was very comfortable with that. So I switched over back to clinchers, and knock on wood, I've not had a flat during a race, so I haven't had to mess with it. But just make sure before going into race day, you do a full check. Make sure everything's good. Make sure they're holding air appropriately. And if you've got problems the day before, you need hopefully they got like a bike tech, or hopefully they got like a bike shop that can hook you up and figure something out quickly. But like I said, you're going to have the opportunities for flats with or with tubulars, clinchers, whatever. But changing them is going to be the difficult part. With tubulars, I think it's a little bit more pragmatic to go change a flat tire out on race day. I think it would be kind of difficult, but if that's what you got, that's what you got. Recommendations for nutrition water during the event. Holy cow, I've done several videos on this. You can either go with what's on the course. So go to the Ironman 70.3 Boulder website, go down the athlete section, go down, look at nutrition, and you can see all the products that they'll have on the course. So I think right now it's got base bars, it's got base salt, they've got goo, Roctane, and then they've got Gatorade Endurance. I think they're also going to do quantum energy squares. So if you want to use what's on the course, go find out what's on the course on the website, and then go practice with it, go buy it, and then practice that. Personally, I use UCAN mixed in bottles with some other stuff. I use Gatorade Endurance, it's on the course. I use like Cliff Bars in T1. And maybe some goos on the bike. And once I get to the run, I don't do solids. I'll either alternate between Gatorade Endurance, and I sip that, and sipping Red Bull and then water. If I feel like I'm crashing, I might go for a goo or something like that on the run, but typically my heart rate's about 160. On the run, I'm running really hard in the halves, and just doing solids just ain't gonna fly. Maybe in T2 I can meet half a cliff bar and be okay, but especially if it's gonna be warm, it just really doesn't mix with me. So nutrition, that's nutrition. Hydration, Boulder is going to be key on the hydration front, because even if it's not warm, if race day is maybe high 70s or 80s, if it's sunny, you will lose fluids fast. Just, it'll sweat and it'll just come off of you. It's not like here, I'm from Kansas City, it's not like in the Midwest where it's just humid and you can feel yourself sweat, it's dripping on you. Boulder, it doesn't, you look around and you're not like soaked and drenched with sweat. It just evaporates off you so quick. Because you're at altitude, it's less humid there, so you're going to lose fluids quick, and you're not going to be aware of it. And I've run to that 2 times where I got too dehydrated off the bike and was running so hard I just could not make it up on the run. Paid for it on the second loop around the reservoir. So make sure your hydration game is on point for the bike. You could do that in your training by testing how much fluid loss you have over a training ride. If you're like me here in the Midwest, if you're training indoors, jack up the heat, measure yourself before, weigh yourself before and after, account for any fluid that you drank during that workout, keep track of temperatures if you can. Get a good idea of what hydration you need to be 1 to 2% dehydrated coming off that bike, because altitude isn't a huge factor, and maybe that's one of the other questions. It's not as huge a factor, but it is a factor when it comes to hydration. Maybe you can get away with being a little bit more dehydrated kind of at sea level, but if you're at altitude, that dehydration is going to play a huge factor. So if you're not on top of it for what you're doing out there on the bike, for Ironman Boulder specifically, you need to make sure that you're on top of it, and that's water. You count water, you count Gatorade Endurance. Like me, I use UCAN mixed up, so UCAN Superstarch. So that's part of my hydration strategy as well. So I account for all that. I have kind of a game plan of 2 water bottles per hour at a 70.3 distance. So when I come off the bike, I am 1 to 2% dehydrated. I'm good I'm topped off on electrolytes and potassium and minerals and all that other stuff. So it's just a matter of attrition through the run to get from H station to H station, get a little bit of fluids in, and then get to the finish line. And that's my strategy, because like I said, I can't have too much of my stomach sloshing around the run, because my stomach just shuts down and it's just not pretty. So that'd be my recommendation. Like I said, Gatorade Endurance, I use that in the course because usually they keep it cold. UCAN Superstarch, 2 bottles on the back, and then a water bottle I start the race with on the front, on the frame, and then I grab the first aid station, I'll grab Gatorade Endurance, put that in the other thing. So I've got things to choose from. As stuff starts getting warm, you don't want to drink it, at least have other options. But hydration is going to be the game changer, because your next question, I plan on spending a week prior to race day to adjust to elevation. Is that enough? You need like 3 months at elevation to really get adjusted. Now, I'd recommend, if you're going to fly there, a week is probably pretty good to be able to get over the fact that you just went from whatever, like sea level to elevation. Getting there, getting acclimated as far as getting rehydrated and drinking water and just getting used to being around. But you're not going to make any kind of fitness gains in a week. Your blood's not going to be adjusted to 10% reduction in utilization of oxygen when you're under duress. You're not really going to make that adjustment in a week. Like, months of living there is going to be what's really going to make a difference. 2-3 weeks, but a lot of us don't have that kind of time and money just to show up at a race site and get acclimated for a week or a month. So going up there and doing like a training camp might help a little bit, but it needs to be more than a week to really make any kind of difference. I think hydration is going to be the biggest factor. So typically, like I said, I've flown up I live in Kansas City, and I've flown to Denver, I've driven to Denver. Key is hydration. The days that I have done my hydration well on the bike, I had a great run. The days that I kind of goofed up on my hydration on the bike, I can tell a difference regardless of the temperatures. It was usually every race has been sunny. That's been my biggest downfall. And like I said, I've trained at sea level, and I don't go out there. I don't get acclimated before the race. I'd love to, but I just don't have the time and the money. So if you've got the resources to go out a week early, hey, great, get used to it. Make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're staying on point, and just take it easy and soak in the area and atmosphere. But as far as making fitness gains and acclimation to altitude, you're really not going to make that much of a difference just in a week. Any recommendations of any sort for newbie besides have fun? like I said, hydration is going to be the key. Make sure you're training for that bike course, because it's not a mountainous climb. You're not really getting into the mountains. You are getting into the foothills, so there'll be some kind of false flats that you're climbing on, especially back on 36 Highway. There's going to be some nice climbs and stuff like that. So just make sure you're ready to take advantage of a little bit of climbing out there, but it's going to be steady, and it's going to be, there's a couple little sections that are really steep, but they're really short. It's not that big of a deal. But just make sure you're ready on that bike to be able to either ride to a perceived rate of exertion or to a power range, heart rate range, whatever you're going by. Just make sure your bike is on point. Make sure your hydration is on point on the bike. That will make or break the run. The run is going to be around the reservoir, and typically you're open to the elements. So if it's sunny, you're going to be exposed the entire time. Make sure you get sunscreen coming out of T2. They will have people with sunscreen, or bring your own. You will get sunburnt regardless of what the temperature is. Even if it's cloudy, you're at elevation, and it's more intense at elevation as far as UV rays go. So you will get sunburnt, and those last, about 8 to 13, you don't want to be starting to get baked out there and just feel miserable, and you're already miserable enough trying to finish the race. So make sure you're taking into account that you're at elevation, you're going to be in that sunlight the entire time. But like I said, the main factor is going to be make sure that you do your bike well, and that's kind of typical with any race I recommend. Make sure you do the bike well, make sure you hydrate well, and that is going to be the key, and make sure you're on point training for the bike. I don't go out and skimp on the run or anything, but don't miss your bike workouts. This is going to be a race that you can have a great bike. If you're feeling good, you can go out there and you can overreach on the bike, and then you pay for it on the run. I've done that before. You're seeing, I could make 20 miles per hour on the bike, and you put a little bit more effort into the flats, into the sections where maybe you have a little bit of tailwind, and you come off the bike and you're like, now my legs feel it because I overreached on a bike beyond what I trained for, and now I'm end up walking from miles 6 to 13, trotting or walk jogging, whatever you're doing. So that's my recommendation. Be ready for the bike, be hydrated, be ready for the sunlight, because there's going to be a lot of it, and don't get sunburned on the bike. So that's typically it. Manny, hopefully that answers your questions. I just wanted to give my 2 cents out there. I have a lot of athletes doing 70.3 Boulder, and I coach a lot of people, and I've done it myself. Love the race. Hopefully this helps you out. If you got any other questions, let me know.